Hello and welcome to Complexity Limits Guide for the heroic Artificer Xy'Mox encounter, written and produced by Crzypck in coordination with Complexity Limit. Presented by Herman Miller. Xy'Mox is a 3-phase encounter. Each phase has a defining mechanic that you'll need to deal with. Phase 1 lasts from the beginning of the fight until 70%, Phase 2 lasts until 40%, and Phase 3 lasts for the remainder of the encounter. There's also several encounter-long mechanics that you have to handle. Let's go over the encounter-long mechanics first. Rift Blasts are white beam lines on the ground. Don't stand in these, they hurt. Hyperlight Spark is a damage effect applied to a random person, then it jumps to another random person. You can't really do much about it, you just have to heal through it. Stasis Traps will periodically appear at the feet of several players and then arm a few seconds later. They'll persist until someone runs over them, which will trigger them and stun the player. The trap will then gain a health pool and need to be killed. You'll need to kill down the trap to release your friend, unless you just really want to kill their parse. To avoid all of this though, you can have players with immunities like a hunter with turtle or a pally with bubble run over the traps, which will clear them. Glyph of Destruction is a 4-second tank debuff. When it expires, the tank will explode for high damage to the whole raid, but this is reduced by distance. The explosion also applies a 50% increased arcane damage taken debuff to the affected tank. You'll need to taunt swap as soon as this goes out, and the tank with the debuff has to run away from the raid. Lastly, Dimensional Tear will place an 8-second debuff on 2 random people. When the debuff expires, it'll explode and deal damage in a 6-yard range. No big deal. The really cool part here is that each explosion will leave behind a wormhole. Running into the wormhole will make you instantly appear at the other one. How cool is that? This will be used for all of the phase-specific mechanics. In Phase 1, you'll want to start with the boss just off-center towards the eastern side of the room. Have a marker down near the far east and the far west walls. Your dimensional tears should be dropped on those markers. The raid should be loosely spread around the boss to spread out the Stasis Trap spawns. Remember, don't run into the traps. The unique mechanic in this phase is called Fleeting Spirits. Several players will be targeted and fixated by a green spirit. These guys will get faster the longer they're out, and if they reach you, you'll be mind controlled. They last 12 seconds before despawning. To handle these, the affected players will need to use the wormholes. If you get fixated, immediately run to the closest wormhole. When the spirit is close to you, jump into the wormhole and get ported to the other side of the room. Wait next to the one you just popped out of, and then jump in when the spirit gets close to you. Keep repeating this until the spirit despawns. Once you finish with the first set of spirits, you can have one of your immunity players clear all of the stasis traps in the room. Rinse and repeat this until Xy'Mox hits 70% health. Just as a note, there's a random AoE ability during this phase called Soul Singe. You can't do anything about it, and honestly it mostly exists so your healers don't get bored. For Phase 2, you should use the same wormhole locations and general positioning as in Phase 1. All of the encounter-wide mechanics stay the same, but you get your new unique mechanic for Phase 2, called Roots of Extinction. 4 seeds will spawn around the room in a set location, and then explode after 20 seconds, dealing lethal damage to anyone within 50 yards. You can pick this seed up by running over to it and clicking it, which will give you an extra action button. Clicking that extra action button will drop the seed. You'll want to pre-assign your 4 seed carriers before the fight. They'll need to grab their seed, run them all right next to the far west wormhole. Once you drop your seed next to the wormhole, run yourself into it to port over to the safe side of the room. If you're picking up a seed on the eastern end of the room, you can safely take that eastern wormhole, port west, drop the seed, then port back east. You'll also have a new phase-specific dot, Withering Roots. This will affect one person at a time, and it really freaking hurts. Healers need to be aware of who has this at any time and keep them alive. You should clear stasis traps after every set of seeds explodes. Do a couple of rounds of this, nuke the boss, and get him to 40% to push into Phase 3. In Phase 3, you'll want to move a little further towards the eastern wall. You'll want to place one wormhole directly next to the far east wall, and the other one near the center of the room. You'll lust at the beginning of this phase. The unique ability here is called Edge of Annihilation. It's a giant suck ability that'll pull everyone towards the middle of the room. You'll see 2 circles, a giant white outer one, and a smaller red one that starts near the center of the room. The red circle will expand slowly and explode when it reaches the edge of the white circle. This deals lethal damage to anybody inside of it. The strength of the suck effect here will increase as the red circle grows. To counter this, run away from the suck until about 3 or 4 seconds before the explosion. Then, turn and run directly towards the middle of the room, right into the wormhole that you placed there. They'll support you safely out to the edge of the room. You should clear the stasis traps after every Edge of Annihilation ends. There will also be a raid-wide AoE effect for the duration of this phase, dealing damage to every player every 3 seconds. This will start to hurt after a while, so healers will need to rotate cooldowns as needed. Keep pushing through these mechanics and collect these guys' purples. Thanks for checking out our video. Now that you know how to kill the boss, be sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for the rest of our guides, kill videos, and a whole lot more.